Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on which part of the globe you're currently in right now. My name is Ron from International Trade Council, and I will be your host for today. We are just waiting for other participants to log in. While we are waiting, I would like you guys to chat, check your chat box. Can you please type in yes if you can hear me, just to make sure that the audio is clear and audible. All right, so I'm seeing that people can hear me well. So before we start, I just want to make few announcement here. So basically, that's the chat box where people can interact. Then you have an opportunity to ask question after. So if you have any question, you can type in your question at the Q&A tab of this platform right after the presenter finish her presentation. Also, after the presentation, there is a poll wherein you can vote. There are two questions here wherein you can vote as well. So give me 1 second. All right. So I think we're just going to wait for like a minute or two before we start. I'll first introduce the host. I mean, the speaker for today. Just waiting for other participants to log in. And by the way, this webinar is recorded, and we'll definitely have an access to this webinar to our ITC YouTube channel. So I'm seeing that people can hear me well. Can you guys see the presentation that is projected on the screen right now? All right, perfect. Thank you so much. All right, I think we can already start. So again, my name is Ron from International Trade Council. So I'll be your host for today. The title of this webinar is Lead Generation and Value Creation through CEO Branding through Ghostwritten Books. This webinar is for busy executives and business owners who are looking to position themselves as experts in their fields and showcase their thought leadership by getting a book written professionally. The presenter will attempt to give you a quick examination of the main aspects of ghostwriting, the positives, the negatives, the alternatives, where to find writers, and how to hire them. So you can decide if you want to use a ghostwriter, and if you do, how to do it right. Our speaker is Dr. Durdana Starns, is a managing partner at CaryPress International Books, a ghostwriting and book publishing company in Washington, D.C. and Los Angeles. So without any further ado, I will going to give the stage to her so he can also introduce herself.
Thank you, Ron, and everyone for joining this webinar. Like Ron said, this presentation is for the busy professionals and business owners who need a book written, but don't have the time or expertise to write one. And to add to the intro by Ron, I wanted to add that I have 25 years of management and writing background, and having spent 49 years of my life in 3 countries, namely Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, and United States, the experience has given me keen awareness of matters related to doing business across the borders. It has allowed me to assist business owners leverage their unique strengths and properly demonstrated when getting their book written and published. Uh, a few words about lead generation and CEO branding through book writing. This strategy is suitable for any professional or a business owner looking to position themselves or their company as an expert. A most basic setup for this strategy involves having a professional online presence. More advanced strategy could include a book tour, search engine optimization, paid advertising, and a public relations campaign to promote the book, CEO, and the events all in one shot. So let's get started with talking about book writing. If you have a book in your head and you need to write, you know it will help you. and your business, but you haven't done it yet. And you probably aren't ever going to do it yourself. So, what are the solutions? So, what next? One common solution that a lot of entrepreneurs use is to hire a ghostwriter, someone to author a book that you will be credited for. Quite simply, you're paying someone to write your book for you. Shockingly, there is no comprehensive resource that answers all the common questions about ghostwriting and explains the different options to give authors a framework for making a decision. So, I'll attempt to give you that here, a quick examination of main aspects of ghostwriting, the positive, the negative, the alternatives, and where to find writers and how to hire them. Let's begin with positives. Number one, you get to save time. This is a clear benefit, quite possibly the main benefit for many people. If you can afford a ghostwriter, that means your time is very valuable. It takes an average author 1,000 to 2,000 hours to write a nonfiction book by himself or herself. Ghostwriters can reduce that time drastically, taking your time commitment down to 10 hours or even less. Number two, you don't get have to learn how to write a book. One of the reasons it takes so long for many people to write a book is that the book writing process itself is very complicated and difficult to learn. Book writing has a very different structure and set of rules from almost any other type of writing, which makes it harder than writing anything else. Most people who write books learn these things as they go, which is why it can take years to write a book. Hiring a ghostwriter solves that problem. Number three, your book will get done. This might sound obvious, but bears repeating. Most people who start their books don't finish them. A ghostwriter, by writing the book for you, ensures that the manuscript does, in fact, get finished. Number four, you can get a book without knowing your subject. A good ghostwriter can rely heavily on the author's knowledge, but doesn't need to if the author doesn't know their subject very well. A good ghostwriter can fill in the gaps and ensure that the author's knowledge deficits don't hurt the book. Now, let's look at some negatives. Number one, it can be expensive. All of the positives above assume that you get at least a good ghostwriter, if not a great one. Any ghostwriter is going to be expensive, and a good ghostwriter is very expensive. If you don't get a good one, then you will probably get a book that makes you look bad. Below is a general guideline to the current market prices for ghostwriters. These prices can vary somewhat because ghostwriting is an opaque market with no centralized marketplace for price discovery. But for a 150 to 300 page nonfiction book, price usually breaks down like this: $1,000 to $14,000. This is the bottom of the barrel for ghostwriters. Writers charging less than 15,000 is quite frankly not good. At best, they are very new and taking cheap work to build their portfolio. Usually, they just uh, have bad writers or are subcontracting the work out to offshore content mills. At worst, they're flat out plagiarizing other people's work. Good writers move the prices above 15,000 as soon as they can. If you cannot afford more than 15,000 for a ghostwriter, you should probably not hire one at the moment. Next one is 15,000 to 75,000 range. Professional ghostwriters with credits and reputation will usually charge between 15 and 75,000. This price varies greatly depending on the writer's level of expertise, the amount of work required for the project, and how much work he or she is currently juggling. Understand that there are substantial quality differences in this price range, And even within that range, a higher price does not guarantee quality. There are many who charge in this range who are not good at all, and many in this range who are cheap compared to the quality they deliver. Generally speaking, a proven and reliable ghostwriter with many good references will charge at least 40,000 for a book and usually more. Next range is between 100,000 to 250,000 plus. Once you get into the six-figure realm, you're talking about a very small number of well-established authors with extensive experience ghostwriting bestsellers. They often have books out under their own names that are well respected. There are probably no more than 100 ghostwriters in the world who can command these prices, and they're usually hired by people who get large advances from traditional publishers and need to make sure their books are good. Actors, politicians, musicians, and other famous personalities come to mind, and the very best ghostwriters can actually command a share of the advance and royalties. Ghostwriters at this level are actually easier to find, and they tend to work on a referral basis only. Another disadvantage is that you have to find and hire them. If you want to buy a book, you can go to Amazon and know that's going to be there. They'll probably have the best price for it too. It's a transparent, reliable marketplace for books. There is no transparent, reliable marketplace for ghostwriters. In order to find a ghostwriter, you will have to look in many, many different places, and each one will have different people listed at different prices. Unless you are skilled at hiring and testing writers, you will likely have problems evaluating them. The very nature of their profession, writing things for other people, means that they often don't get credit for their work and cannot show it to you to prove their skill as a writer. Even if you find one you want, you have to negotiate a deal and set all the proper expectations. Do you know exactly what such writers should be delivering, on what schedule, and how to check their work? If not, then their whole process can be very hard. Another disadvantage is you have to manage them. Finding and hiring a ghostwriter are just the first steps. Are you a good manager, especially of someone you don't know? Because that's next. After you hire them, the relationship changes. Their main goal now is to get the book work done as fast as possible and get you out the door so they can sign their next client. Remember, they are a freelancer. The only way they make money is by signing authors to contracts. If you did a good job picking a ghostwriter, this won't be an issue. They'll do a good job even if they do it quickly. By definition, a good ghostwriter wants to deliver good work. But if you didn't pick the right one, then you now have to worry about missed deadlines, payment issues, conflicts, poor quality, and any number of other issues that come from managing a freelance contractor who's looking for their next project. Another disadvantage is that you are getting a manuscript. That's it. Even if everything goes right, you're alone after your book is finished. A ghostwriter only delivers you a manuscript, nothing else. Editing would not be included unless specified. You still need to actually publish and market your book. Ghostwriters don't usually have great expertise in platform building, brand building, and marketing. So, if you want those things, you're going to need to hire and manage an entirely different team for that. Unless the ghostwriter is a part of a company that bundles all these into one neat package. And also, you don't get any guarantees with ghostwriting. A due diligence process would maximize the positive outcomes, but you don't get the guarantee of quality or reliability. Even if you spend a lot of money, you're doing it on the hope that it works. not on a guarantee that it will work. The reason you can't get a guarantee is because you are not paying for a manuscript. You are paying for the ghostwriter's time. If ghostwriters allowed money back guarantee clauses or quality guarantee clauses, they would be setting themselves up for endless revisions. It would mean thousands of hours of work. Since these writers literally make their money by selling their time, they can't do that. Each ghostwriter has their own personal system. So you can't know at any given stage what is going on, how well it's going, etc. You are totally in the hands of the ghostwriter who you are working with. Now, let's look at how to find these ghostwriters. Most ghostwriters have a website, even if it is not very good, to source clients. And their clients find them through Google and LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a very good place to start a general search, but be prepared to do a lot of research into their work, check their sites, etc. And also remember, you'll only be seeing the people who explicitly offer ghostwriting on their profile. Many writers do that work but don't list it. Next, Google. When searching here, your best bet might be to search the term ghostwriter along with the name of the city you're in, because then you can meet them locally. If you can't find many in your city, that's fine. But I would recommend going very deep into the Google search results for ghostwriter, because the first few pages will be ads or scammers. The good ghostwriters will be listed a few pages back, or better yet, be careful using a general Google search at all and start other places on the list. Next one for finding ghostwriters are freelance writer marketplaces. These are places where freelance writers have profiles to connect with people looking for their services. Very few of these places are designed around ghostwriting specifically, and very few truly vet their ghostwriters, though many do have different ways of displaying social proof, like through reviews, etc. One of these places is Reedsy. This is the best freelancer marketplace that I know of, and there are quite a few ghostwriters of high quality, and it's getting larger. Next one is Media Bistro, a well-known freelance platform that attracts a lot of high-quality writers. You'll have to put in work, but you can find good people here. Another place is American Association of Ghostwriters. I do not have personal experience working with them, but I know one writer who gets leads from them. And the last time I checked, the quality of ghostwriters seems pretty solid. Upwork. Odesk and Elance combined to create this company. And there actually are some good ghostwriters in this marketplace, but the problem is there are way more bad ones. Be very diligent in your vetting of them. Last, Fiverr. This is the bottom of the barrel for ghostwriting writers, and I'm only putting this here to tell you not to go here looking for writers. Another place that you can try is ghostwriter agencies. These are companies that connect authors with ghostwriters and then takes a cut of the fee. If you Google ghostwriting agency as a term, you'll find a lot of them, but quite frankly, most are not good. Agencies make their money on the difference between what they charge and what they pay to freelancers. The less they pay to their freelancers, the more they make from you. So they are incentivized to hire writers who don't charge as much, which typically means they are not as skillful or as experienced. Unsavory ones lure you into a contract with a sample of one writer's work, then hand you substandard material by someone else. They can get away with this because most of them are not getting clients from personal recommendations or worried about building a reputation of excellence. They are content mills and make money by being good at buying Google ads. Once they accumulate too many bad reviews, they change names and start again. You have to be very careful in picking the agency you use. But not all agencies are like this. I know a few ghostwriting agencies that stand apart from the scammers, ones who have built a reputation of sourcing high quality ghostwriters, vetting and pairing them carefully, and standing behind them. Two of these are 2M Communication and Gotham Ghostwriters. I have not personally worked with them, but several other sources have mentioned these agencies as being reliable. Regardless of where you find your ghostwriter, I would recommend doing a deep evaluation. Be prepared to interview up to 10 to find the right one for you. So the question is, how do you evaluate a ghostwriter? Well, now that you have several places to find ghostwriters, it's time to evaluate them. Here is the basic process by which you can assess them and figure out if one is a good match. Number one, price. I said this before and I'm repeating for emphasis. If you are price shopping, you should not hire a ghostwriter uh, because about 15,000 is the bare minimum, and you really should be spending around 40,000 or more to be sure you're getting someone good. I know it seems funny to price shop in reverse, to look for expensive rather than cheap, but I just cannot emphasize enough that quality ghostwriters do not work for cheap. They are highly talented and skilled artisans, and they command high dollar fee because they do good work. You get what you pay for. That being said, once you are above 15K, then price is a much less reliable signal of quality. I personally know ghostwriters who charge 30,000 who are simply better than ones charging $60,000. Number two, do read their past work. Any ghostwriter you're talking to should provide a list of books they've ghostwritten. A bad ghostwriter will resist because either the books they worked on are bad or they haven't done any. Some ghostwriters who've worked on high level books are not allowed to tell you because they signed an NDA, a non disclosure agreement, with the author. If you sign an NDA with that ghostwriter, a lot of them will be happy to tell you the books because it is going to be something good and they're going to be very proud of their work. You have to go beyond just looking at what book they worked on. Real due diligence means reading at least some of the books they have worked on. Evaluate the writing, the storytelling, and the structure. Is the book compelling? Is it well structured? The content might be boring, but did they do a good job with it? A good ghostwriter will make almost any book at least readable, regardless of the quality of the content. Also, interview them. A great ghostwriter expresses your idea in even better terms than you would. What you're looking for is someone who not only understands what you're saying, but who can bring something else on to the table. That's what you want to see in the interview. Not only are they getting your idea, but they're adding to it in conversation. A big part of this is getting along with them. Do you like talking to them? Are they good active listeners? Are they adding to the conversation? Do they seem really engaged in your topic and want to work with you? Are you connecting with them? Red flags are someone who wants to hurry to get off the phone, someone who just agrees with everything you say, and someone who doesn't show a lot of interest in your topic. Imagine if you're doing a diet and fitness book. You don't want someone who's never written about diet and fitness or doesn't care about what they eat. Another thing you might do is ask about their process. This is during the interview, of course, but it is so important that I break it out into its own sub point. You need to really be sure of their process. This is one of the major drawbacks of ghostwriting. There is no defined process, and every ghostwriter does it their own way. You need to know how they do it. You want to hear they are highly responsive and highly collaborative, yes, But believe it or not, you actually want someone who sets good boundaries. This means they are clear about the number of revisions, number of notes, how they want to get information from you, how they want to interact, etc. Having a clear process and reasonable limits means that they have done this before many times. They get paid a lot, they value their time, and they're not just going to take a gig from anyone. They're vetting you as well. A ghostwriter who agrees to anything or is very vague about details is a ghostwriter who doesn't have a process, who isn't very valued, and who is desperate to get your money. They probably won't deliver a good manuscript either. A good ghostwriter is the opposite. They're polite, but they're very firm, and they know what they're doing. Now that you have some idea about how to evaluate them and picking one, the next step would be to negotiate the deal. Most ghostwriters have standard contracts they use. That's fine. You probably don't need to involve lawyers, but there are several deal terms you need to make sure you negotiate properly. Number one being price and payment terms. Make sure you are very clear on how much you are paying and when those payments are due. There are a lot of ways to pay, but the vast majority of good ghostwriters will use a flat fee structure, meaning you're paying a set amount for a defined book of a defined size. There are some that use flat fee plus hourly for revisions for beyond a certain point. That's fine too. As to payment terms, make sure that you are paying in installments and not paying all the money up front. Those installments can be time-based or tied to specific deliverables. And the next one that you need to look at during the hiring phase are the deliverables, which are like word count, revisions, etc. Part of the payment discussion will be what the deliverables are. The very best and most expensive ghostwriters will be somewhat loose on with this. They can afford to because when they're charging 100,000 K plus for a manuscript, you're paying them to just handle everything, whatever it takes. And for that price, they will. This is not true for most ghostwriters, who will often have word counts or page count they want to tie you to, or other very objective ways to limit the scope of work. This is normal and fine. Just make sure it's clear and that it fits with what you need. Do not let a ghostwriter just go with a straight hourly fee unless you are cool with them potentially running up their bill a lot. An example of a set of deliverables is something like this. A set of initial interviews, 3 to 5 hours. 20 to 40 hours of original research, fact checking, outlining a reading, follow-up interviews up to 5 hours, approximately 50,000 word rough draft manuscript based on interviews, 2 rounds of revisions, final manuscript based on revision. Next thing to consider in a contract are rights and royalties. Make sure you retain 100% of all the rights to your book. Not only copyright, but the print license, all film rights, TV, foreign, and adaptation rights. Don't let any ghostwriter try to keep any rights to your book ever. Next one to consider is plagiarism protection. This would not be a concern with a good ghostwriter, but make sure you are indemnified against them stealing someone else's content. No good ghostwriter would ever think of doing this, so they'll have no issue putting in the contract. And you can also specify in the contract that no subcontracting is allowed. Some agencies and even individual ghostwriters will use their credentials to sign you and even do the initial interviewing, but will pass off the writing to another writer of much lower quality. Do not allow this. You are paying for that writer. They should do all the work. Unless, of course, you are negotiating a much lower fee for something like this. Termination rights. That's another important clause for to be in a contract. If you should terminate the contract for any reason except not paying, you should still maintain the rights to your book. And another thing to consider is if you want to remain anonymous. So you can put that as an anonymity clause. That does not have to be in the contract, but be clear if you want the ghostwriter's work on the book to be anonymous and covered by NDA. Many ghostwriters will want to claim credit for working on book, deservedly so. If you want anonymity, they will tend to charge more for this. This is standard, but the price is negotiable. I know this presentation is about ghostwriting, but let's also quickly look at some alternatives. So number one is you could attempt to write it yourself if you cannot justify paying more than $15,000 for someone to write your book. Doing it yourself is the best course of action then. The key to writing your own book is to follow a good process. Number two, you can use a book coach or done for you service. There are a lot of people who offer book coaching or a done with you type of service. The basic idea is that they coach you through writing a book, but you are the one doing the actual work. This is similar to doing it yourself, except you're not totally on your own. Someone is there to help you along, whether it's the process of writing or giving you a constructive criticism. This is a good deal for people who can afford some help, but not full ghost writing service. The third option is 100% done for you. And this is it is a much newer category of companies, and they offer a slightly different way to get ideas into books. Here's info on a few companies. Number one, CaryPress International Books. This is my company. Basically, we created a structured interview and writing process to turn an author's ideas into a book in their words and in their voice. We do all the publishing as well as the marketing. Full disclosure, this is my company, and yes, it competes directly with ghostwriters. I'm obviously biased, but the reason we started this company is because at its core, ghostwriting is a broken system, and we figured out an effective way to solve the same problem that ghostwriting is trying to solve, namely getting the ideas of an author into a book without having to spend so much time doing it. Next, memoir therapy. This service focuses on mostly therapeutic ghostwriting services. CaryPress sometimes collaborates with their clients who need the writing process to double up as a healing process. Roundtable companies. I have not personally used them, but know a few people who have, and they say good things. From what I understand, they're kind of in between a book coach and a done for you service, and they can vary their service based on your needs. Last one that I would like to share is Advantage Media. I have not used them either, but some of our clients did their first book with them before coming to us for their second. Their process is a series of interviews as well, which they just transcribe. Well, now we have come to an end of this presentation. Hope this webinar helped you understand the ghostwriting industry. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me, anna@carypress.com. Bye, everyone. Have a good day.
All right, thank you. So that's a very interesting presentation, Anna. So while we are waiting for questions, you can type in your questions on the Q&A portion of this platform. I'm going to show the poll on the screen right now. I think, yes, people are already answering the poll. So it's the first poll. This is the second one. So thank you for the answer to the poll. Now, we're open for question, guys. If you have any questions, please feel free to type in your questions here on the chat box or on the Q&A portion of the screen. I'll wait for your questions. So far, I'm seeing the poll here. All right, guys, we're open for questions. I'm still waiting for questions from you guys, if you have any. And by the way, yeah, I have a one question here, Anna. I have writer and promoted a book for my client that became a bestseller. How can we use that to generate leads?
A very good question. So, if my question would be, um, if the book has been recently published, then I would consider setting up some local events and then combining that with a local public relations campaign. And also in the process, I would hope that there is a website where the leads from these campaigns would start going to the website and be turned into a lead.
All right, very well said. Thank you. Any other question, guys? We have still like few minutes. So, guys, I have oh yeah, well, email address is projected here. All right, our ghostwriters are not marketing persons.
Not necessarily, unless they specifically share that information. It's two different skills. Writing takes years to uh, fine tune, and similarly, marketing also is a skill that takes years to fine tune. So, if you are considering hiring a ghostwriter, do pay attention if they're sharing that on their own, or ask them if they have experience with that.
All right, perfect. I see pricing on your sorry. I see pricing on your site for ghostwriting. What about the publishing cost? And the
So,
US sorry, go ahead.
so the publishing is listed under self-publishing. Um, if you go to the main page under publishing and then choosing self-publishing, it would give you three separate packages.
All right. And do you assist with digital publishing like Kindle, audiobooks, etc.?
We do. So that is part of one of our publishing package, Kindle or PDF, both of them.
All right, very well. Any other questions? So again, if you would like to reach out to Anna and would like to have a one-on-one call or meeting with her, please feel free to email her address. So I'll type in the address here in the chat box so you can copy it. Anna S at CaryPress.com. All right, so I'm still waiting for, we are waiting for other questions. I would like guys you to invite, if you are not yet a member of International Trade Council, please feel free to become a member. Let me know, or you can actually reply to the email invitation that was sent to you with this webinar. We would like to have you as a member of International Trade Council so that you will learn more and you'll be able to be updated with our events. We normally handle events like Think Global Conference, Startup Summit, Trade Missions, Go Global Awards, etc. And of course, we normally have regular webinars like this. So I don't see any other questions here. So guys, if you think about questions about the presentation, please feel free to reach out to her. The email address is here. And if you would like to review the webinar, we will going to post the video recording to ITC website, ITC YouTube channel in the next few days. Okay. So before we end the presentation, I would like to ask Anna if she have any other um, final words to the audience.
Well, thank you everyone for taking time from their busy lives to attend this. And thank you, Ron, for hosting this.
You're welcome. So, guys, thank you for your time today. See you on the next webinar. Then in the future, we'll definitely invite you guys. I think Anna will have another set of webinar in November. So please stand by for that. Thank you, guys. Bye. Bye, Anna.
Bye, Ron.